Okay, good morning, everybody. I've been asked to come here today to enlighten you on what ESD is and what you, as company employees, can do to better the situation for ESD. Does anybody remember exactly what ESD was?
Electrostatic discharge.
Right, electrostatic discharge. What that is the electrostatic that is built up around your body. Like when you walk across the floor, you touch a doorknob, you get that little jolt that pulls out. Styrofoam cup, everybody's holding here. Fits, you get lint or little pieces of hair, how they cling to the cup. Or if you have a comb or a brush that's plastic and you keep combing your hair, hold it out, it'll make your hair stand on end. This is all electrostatic discharge. And what we need is a preventative measure for ESD or electrostatic discharge, because we at Ford are constantly using printed circuit boards, PW boards as we call it. And in these PW boards, we have ICs. Another name for IC is integrated circuit. And even though that little zap that you get in your hand is not hazardous to us, it is dangerous to an integrated circuit. It's deadly. And unfortunately, we may not realize that we did damage to these ICs until too late. This part's going to get in your car, get out on the field, and 5, 6, 7 months on down the road, the car is going to be dead. And it's going to be due to that little fact where you zapped the IC. Yes, Dave.
When it's zapped, what exactly gets damaged? I know there's almost a little wire bonds in there. Is it a wire that is damaged to the center of the chip, or what exactly gets burned out?
Well, there's all kinds of little different tracks inside each one of these. This is several different types of tracks inside each and every one of these, and if you zap that, you may damage like that little bit of track in one spot or little area, and it's not worn all the way through, so it may pass our test sets at work. But once it's actually put through the process and it's running in the car, more and more strain on that particular spot will eventually break through, and then this will not be doing the signal or whatever that it's supposed to be doing in the car. What we want to cover is some preventative measures. And our first thing is wear an ESD wrist strap. We have 3 different types that we use out on the floor. This has an elastic type. And this you hook up yourself. And this is our black one that we just came out with. It's Spidal Twisted Flex. And they come in different sizes, so when it actually is put on your arm, you should have it tight to your skin. Purpose being that inside this right here, there is a little component. And if this component is bad, you'll need to know that right away by checking your strap. But if this isn't touching your skin, you're not going to be effective at all once you're hooked up. This one here, a lot of people like this one because they can wear it on their ankle. And then your strap's not restricting you in any way when you're moving around doing your job. Unfortunately, if you wear this on your leg, if you have pantyhose on, socks on, and this is over the top of the pantyhose, you're not getting skin to strap contact. And therefore, this is ineffective. So always make sure this is right next to your skin, and then make sure it's snug to the skin. If it was hanging loose, like that, you're not making contact with that little piece there. I mean, off and on you may be, but, and then you're going to do damage to these ICs.
What exactly does that strap do?
Okay? Once you have a strap on, first off, very important, and that a lot of people tend to forget, is you should make sure your ground strap is good. By doing this normally, if you're out on the production floor, there's a braid such as this that is attached around your piece of machinery or your table, that workstation that you're working at, and you hook up to this. This must be hooked to something that's grounded down through the floor. If it's the piece of equipment that you work by, the machinery, or if it's the table and then there's a wire of this running through to a pole that is hooked down to the floor. But this must make a contact with something that's hooked down to the floor. If you just have a workstation, a repair table, and it runs around the wood repair table, that's not and adequate grounding. And this grounds you so that this is taking the electrostatic away from your hand. So when you're touching this, it's okay. Is that?
Yeah,
Which one?
it takes away the charge that's accumulating in your body.
Right. Wear black finger cots. That's not applicable in all the areas, but some areas it is, especially where PW panels are used, just printed circuit boards. These are the ones you should wear, the black ones, if you're working with PW, and they're easy to put on. This is an example of a white one. These are only acceptable in areas like SIP, IAR, areas where you're working with substrate. This is just to keep from getting fingerprints or dirtying that material. Okay? This is what you want to use when you're working in a ESD area. Okay, I'm going to show you. Before everybody starts working, they should check their ground strap. And normally, like I said, you could hook up to the spray, just touch the box, and it'll read good or not good. If it reads yellow or red, see your supervisor, your group leader, somebody to get another strap because your strap isn't good. If it reads green, your strap is good. And here's a way to test this without being actually hooked up. You can stick this right onto the back. This one's like this. This is this type here. And then you can push on that. See how it's reading green here? Okay, that indicates that you have a good strap. I think that's very, very important to everybody make sure before you start work every day, getting the practice up, checking your ground strap, make sure you're getting a good.
What would it do if it was bad?
It would either read red or it would read yellow. High resist or hazard. A hazard is to yourself actually. If you would have this on and you read that and it's read hazard, what it's telling you is, you know, unlikely, but if lightning bolt would hit that piece of equipment, it would go through and you're in danger. Yellow would indicate that this is not making correct contact, so there you're going to get the component danger. But in either way, if it's not reading green, get another strap. And if you get a brand new strap and it's still not reading green, chances are this box isn't effective. And you want to try and find another test set to check and make sure your straps are really clear.
Where are the boxes, Penny?
They're located throughout the plant in different areas. It'd be hard for me to distinguish exactly. Like if you want to E-line the front end, there's 3 different test boxes. You tested any one of them. Like I said, if one doesn't work, go down the middle of the belt and try that one. If you work in the dip area, there's 2 set up in different places. One by where the CPUs are put in, one by where the ICs are inserted. Yes.
Isn't it a practical idea to have a portable unit to go around in case that braid loses contact with the ground? You want to check the whole braid all the way down.
Right. That's a good question. I brought that up several times. Now, when I was an IG, Inspector General, as we learned about earlier, that's what I did. I had a regular little test bunk that I went around and checked everybody. But they don't want to get in the practice of somebody having to follow behind somebody else. Like he said, we're trying to get away from, I have to check up on so-and-so, I have to check up on so-and-so. They want you to check up on yourself. So they want you to come around and check your strap yourself. Now I'll get into a little later in the lesson about the actual braid itself. Ensure work area is properly grounded. This is what you're referring to. This braid right here, if you see that this braid is frayed in any way, sometimes you see them breaking apart, contact either your mechanic, your technician, or your supervisor and have this braid changed. It's a very simple procedure. Just bolt it down in. And when this is bolted, like say to a piece of machinery, say if it's a dip machine, when this is attached to that, make sure it's not on a painted surface. The surface of that machine is painted. You're not making a correct contact. The paint should be scraped off and this should be attached metal to metal. Okay? And it would be a good practice every day when you come in, make sure that your work area is good and that your wrist strap is good. One day when I came into work, when I was down in the dip area, I went to start to work and I noticed the braid and somebody had broken it right off. Well, how was I going to ground properly? Now, if I wasn't aware of ESD, I would have said, oh, I hooked up to this wire and I hooked up. Here over down the line, the braid was broke and it wasn't actually making contact with anything that was grounded. Okay? Any questions on that? Minimize extra materials at your workstation. That's referring to mostly people that like to eat at their workstation, unfortunately. Like I said, styrofoam cups, that's really bad. And a lot of people tend to carry these to their workstation. Not only is the zap from the cup can just be sitting right next to where you're working, by the way. The way I'm working with ICs right here and that cup's there, I don't even have to touch that cup, touch that to cause it to be damaged. That static will jump right from that cup onto that IC. So you don't want to have anything that's plastic, styrofoam, anything like that in your work area.
So everything basically is
Anything plastic especially is the worst. Anything that,
holds electrical charge.
right. It's not good common practice for health reasons either to be eating and drinking at your workstation. Also, what I was going to say is if any liquid gets on a panel like this, you can totally destroy this panel. So it's not a good practice to drink in your working area anyway. Use air ionizers where applicable. I couldn't bring one of them in, they're too big. It's a big brown box like this. And usually you only see them right where you're inserting ICs, the integrated circuits, or where there's tape being used in some process. There is a process on each line where you take a piece of tape off and you wrap it around this end here. And that is to keep the coating from going on this part. Well, unfortunately, tape is static, so the air ionizer blower is blowing right there where they're applying the tape. Also where, on each line where they take this part right here, bend it, and then insert it. The air ionizer blower is there. Make sure it's turned on before you start your work. Make sure it's turned on, and there's two settings, warm or cool air. You know, in the summertime, a lot of people want the cool air on. Winter, they want the warm air on. Just make sure it's turned on, that's important. And later on in the slide presentation, there will be a picture of the air ionizer. You would use ESD bags or other appropriate static-free containers when transporting components. Transporting of components is in reference to these or the parts that you see on a printed circuit board. And this is what an anti-static bag looks like. They come in all different sizes. There's smaller ones, medium size. This is the big one. I want to emphasize too, not just components, but even if it's a panel that has the ICs inserted, you're going to make sure that you put them into the bag and carry them this way. Because you're still going to zap that IC. Just because it's not the actual part itself, you still can zap it if it's in the panel board. Or even in the finished product when the clamp cell is not on yet. That's it.
But instead of wood plastic, what's that made out of?
This is made out of a special anti-static material. These are specially made up for that. And it tells you right on the bag, electrostatic to sensitive. Okay? So you should be looking for these type of bags, the black bags. That's the only thing that's really acceptable on the plant. Okay, any questions on that? Okay, be aware of ESD at all times, and that's exactly simple. Be aware of it at all times. And you as a person have a right to, you see people walking around carrying these around the plant, how they do, let them know. I let them know. If I see people sitting at their workstation and they're not grounded, this is one of everybody's prized ways of grounding themselves. They go on their little break and they have their ground strap and they'll hook this up themselves. Then they'll start working. Well, where's my ground strap at? You know, sometimes it's honestly a mistake. They just forgot. And meanwhile, how many parts did they damage? Well, why let them damage anymore? You exercise your right to let them know this is what you do.
She does too.
Hook up your strap. It's really important. It's really very important.
And there's the one site there, you pulled the alligator off and you had a male connection. I know in the new stations that are coming in, some of the equipment, they have female connections to plug in. Does a blue one do the same thing?
No, it does not. They're trying to go to this. This has a alligator clip thing, but it doesn't have any way to, you know, like you couldn't use this box to check this in the back. You would have to be up next to a braid.
So
They're trying to go to this one only.
How do the people that are working on the new workstations and new equipment
Well,
that don't have the braid but have the plug-in jack,
Okay.
how do they?
they'd have to have a braid to hook themselves while they're working.
There's plug-in jacks. They plug right into the.
Oh, that they're already immediately grounded. How would they?
How would they do that with?
They're not going to be able to do that. This is a new one, it just came out, and it is an MRO. For a while there, it wasn't in MRO. We as the EI team, I used to be on the EI team, we got together and said, we need this, and they got this for us. Well, since they decided, these are very expensive, these are very cheap. they're not very costly to replace. These are very expensive, and unfortunately, I forgot it, and then I have to give them another strap, another strap. These cost $30, and it's very costly to the company. So previous to now, they always use these kinds, but they're going away with these. They want these in process now. People are going to have to remember, just like your safety glasses, you need a ground strap every day to do your job if you're in an area that uses ground straps. But I think eventually this will be the only kind that we carry, eventually.
Kind of seems like a minimal charge for how much damage they can do.
Yeah, well-
$30 is not that much.
Sometimes you have to, I think, invoke a few rules, because then you have people, I was a utility on Equine too, and every day I had this one guy, every day he had no strap, every day. $30 times 5, you know, that can get a little bit costly if you have people like that. I think something's going to have to be invoked for people. At first we had everybody sign up, I got mine. They needed another, and we told them we had to pay for it themselves. I don't know if this is why we're going procedure or not, but,
Kind of bonkers now.
Simple condition of employment, you don't walk in the door without it.
right, it's just like your
Turn around
safety
and go home
glasses.
if you don't have
This
it.
is a requirement for that job, you have to have it every day. Okay, what I have next is some slides to show that we took pictures, actual pictures at the workstation, and I would like you to take a look at each picture and tell me what you think is or is not the problem with that picture. And if you recognize your own area, oh my goodness. Hey!